3 months, we've seen a drop of 1.3 million long-term unemployed. That's the largest 3 months fall in long-term unemployment since we started keeping records in 1948. More to do, but great progress.
Tonight on the Donlon Report, the president touting the economy, but the reality is we're still down millions of jobs from the pre-pandemic peak. Prices are rising. The supply chain, as we know, is backlogged, and gas prices are at their highest level in 7 years. Tonight, I'm going to speak with one CEO who's getting his hands dirty, putting on the apron and actually stepping onto the front lines to help his company. Looking forward to that conversation ahead. And it's time to hit the road. That's what Tesla CEO Elon Musk told California. But his company isn't the only one moving away from the Golden State for the Lone Star State. Is Texas the new Silicon Valley? Why the dollars and cents make that move too hard for many to pass up? Great to have you with us as we wrap up the week. Live from our studios in Chicago, the Donlon Report starts right now. Good evening. What's working? And more importantly, what's not working? That's the pulse of America tonight. The economy added just 194,000 jobs last month, and the so-called experts who predict these things expected that number to be more like 500,000. Hiring has slowed, and so has the economy. Despite a record number of job openings in America, the economy is missing some 8 million jobs, and the president is encouraging employers to fire workers who don't get vaccinated.
The bottom line, we're going to protect vaccinated workers from unvaccinated coworkers.
So dig deeper into this jobs report, and we find that 100,000 people actually left the workforce in September. Just gave up looking. Why? That's the question there. Are government benefits giving people a reason to stay home? Well, Bar Rescue host and executive producer John Taffer hinted at that when he came on our broadcast a short time ago.
Has America's psyche changed? Have we, from being a self-reliant society, are we starting to become a government-reliant society? People are sitting home rather than going to work.
So some businesses are now taking actions that under normal circumstances might be considered extreme. Raising Cane's, a fast food chicken chain, is bringing corporate staff to its restaurants to fill the void of employees. They're working as cashiers, cooks, and dishwashers. The co-CEO of the company is one of them, AJ Kumaran, and that's where we start tonight. AJ, it's great to have you. You're living this. You can't find workers. You and your fellow executives are literally putting the apron on and taking orders and cooking chicken?
Yes, sir, that's right. You said I'm the co-CEO. I'm also the fry cooking cashier, so we've always believed in doing what we preach and being in the front lines. So every single crew member, whether they are support office or working in the restaurants themselves, they all go through the fry cook and the cashier training, so they all know what to do. And in times like this, we need all hands on deck, so that's what we're doing.
So why did you have to make this decision, AJ? Is it that bad? I mean, you don't have enough people in your restaurants to work.
Honestly, first of all, it was not a big decision, to be honest. It was people volunteering. We act like a big family. We are always functioning like a big family. So when our brothers and sisters are hurting in the front lines, not having enough help, we wanted to step up and help. So that was the real way we got here. Now, the reality is, yes, we need a lot more crew members. Over 150 of our restaurants are either shutting down partially during their hours of operation, shutting down sales channels, just because they do not have enough crew members. Sales are good. I mean, customers are coming into our business, but we need more crew members to be serving them, and they need the help.
I saw where you guys are looking for 10,000 employees over the next 50 days. Seeing the numbers that we see here, AJ, how in the world are you going to do that?
It is going to be very hard, but we always put our mind to it. We make it happen. We're also, taking some very strategic steps. To kind of take a step back, the 10,000 crew members are also needed because we are a growth business. We're opening over 100 new restaurants in the next 6 months, so we need the crew. And so we're taking it down to the streets, job fairs, career fairs, schools, churches, temples, what have you. We're spreading the word that we are a great place to work, that we have been recognized for. On top of that, we're investing in wages too, though.
Right, I was going to say, are you offering more money to these folks to try to entice them?
Absolutely. So we've raised our wages over $35 million through the first half of this year. That is $25 million in wage increases, $17 million in special thank you bonuses for frontline crew members. And over the next 3 to 4 weeks, we're investing another $70 million. That is every crew member making about 20% pay increase on their hourly rate. That's what is needed to stay competitive in this market.
We keep hearing, AJ, that no one's looking for jobs. I'm wondering what you're hearing. Are people at least applying? And if they are or aren't, what are they telling you?
You know, that is true. Our applicant rates have gone down significantly over the last several weeks or months, I should say. However, I will say that after all of the publicity and stuff that we have received after being in the front lines and going out there pounding the pavement, we have seen a nice increase in applicants. You know, we have been a great place to work. Now we are benefiting from that. So in times like these, only the top goes to the top, and that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, I know you mentioned that you're expanding. I think I saw where you have like 530 restaurants right now, and you are expanding. But again, the question is, how do you do that? And will this employee situation impact your ability to expand?
So we have 630 restaurants actually, so getting close to 700. And we have a little bit more control over it, Joe, honestly. So we are a company-owned system mostly, so we do not franchise. So that allows us to do what it takes. If a restaurant needs to delay a little bit, to postpone the opening, to get the staff in, we do that all the time. In fact, several of our restaurants in this past month have pushed their openings by 6 to 8 weeks just to make sure we are staffed up properly to open. Now, to answer your question, you know, none of us know the future, but it is tough right now. It is tough to get crew members into our business.
Are you having to make adjustments as far as your dining rooms? I know we've seen some restaurants have decided to close the dining rooms down. Are you able to provide enough of the supply for the demand of the people coming into the restaurants?
No, sir. We have had to shut down our dining rooms. So about 150 of our restaurants have either closed down their dining rooms, limited their hours, shut down the mobile channel. But I will say we are on the better side of things. I've seen businesses having to do even worse. I mean, you go through some of the airports, which I was in a couple of them in the last couple of days. I mean, there are businesses completely not opening doors after very limited hours because they do not have the crew members.
AJ, on top of all this, I wanted to get you on something else, too, before we let you go. The what's being called the everything shortage, basically. I mean, we're talking about the supply chain backups. How is that impacting your business as well?
It is absolutely unbelievable. I've never thought a day like this would come. You know, whether that is poultry prices going through the roof or, you know, supply chain that is breaking down. It takes months instead of weeks to get products like paper supplies into our system. It has been very, very hard. You know, I think this backlog is going to last a bit. We're prepared for it. We're prepared to weather the storm, but we're also pulling out all stop signs. You know, we are actually trying to hold on to the supplies, create our own warehouse systems. In fact, I'll give you a quick example. When Hurricane Ida hit, we had several of our restaurants that got impacted. We had to set up our own distribution system and distribute products to our restaurants to serve our communities because they needed the food.
Wow, you are facing a lot of challenges, AJ Kumaran, and we really appreciate the view from the front line of a business that's fighting hard to make it. AJ, it's great to see you. Thanks. Raising Cane's.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks for making us hungry, too. Appreciate it. With just more than 3 weeks until Halloween, shoppers across the country are finding bare shelves and sold-out signs online as they hunt for the best decorations or scariest costumes. The lack of inventory is another consequence of the COVID-19 related shipping crisis we've been talking about that's crippling the global supply chain. According to the National Retail Federation, consumers are expected to spend a record $10 billion on Halloween this year, after celebrations were pretty much canceled last year. But will the supply be able to match the demand? Here to talk about that and more is business reporter and our friend Shibani Joshi. Good to see you again, Shibani. I guess America, as we said, is running out of everything. Empty shelves, cargo ships are backed up. We've seen that. This is real, I guess. How bad is it?
It's getting worse, Joe, by the week and by the month. In the beginning, we were talking about toilet paper and paper towels and water bottles. And now we're talking about Cane's chicken and presents under the Christmas tree. I mean, the issue is a massive global shortage all around the world, showing us just how interconnected our global economies are, hard hit because of the pandemic, and then hard to start also because of the different timelines that different geographies and different parts of the world are able to get back online. And it's going to hit us this holiday season.
I don't remember seeing cargo ships backed up with all these containers stacked up like we're seeing right now. And it shows, in addition to what we're facing, I guess the impact of this chain we're talking about, the shortage of workers to unload all of these ships and then the truck drivers to deliver them and on down the road.
Absolutely. It starts at the factories, Joe. I mean, companies like Nike and Under Armour, I mean, Nike makes 75% of its clothing in Southeast Asia and Vietnam, in Malaysia and Indonesia. And right now, those countries, 50% of the factories are shut down. So the factories are shut down. If they're able to get raw materials and have workers in those factories, then they need to ship them if they have a container. If they have a container and the ship is able to make it to one of our ports, well, let's hope that there's workers and big cranes that are able to unload the cargo ships and then put them onto trucks. Well, good luck getting a truck if you don't have a truck driver, because so many of them have changed careers altogether during the pandemic. And that lies the issue of getting all of those products, whether it's Nike shoes or paper towels or other things, onto store shelves in time for you for the holidays. It is a massive international issue.
Well, there's a lot to digest right now with the economy, Shibani. And I think, you know, between the jobs numbers, the unemployment rate, which went down again. Now we are seeing another thing that is real, though, and that is an increase in gas prices, the highest they've been in 7 years. What's going on with that?
So we've got gas prices at a 7-year high, the highest since 2014. AAA is reporting this, and this comes down to basic economics. We all learned about supply and demand, and this is very much hitting the energy complex, various commodities out there. It's not just gasoline, but it's coal, it's natural gas, it's even fertilizer prices. And so what we're seeing is, you know, basically demand during the pandemic was shut off. We were at home, we were isolating, quarantining, and then the pandemic has slowed down. We're getting vaccinated, and we are getting back on the road when it comes to gasoline prices. And as we're taking more road trips, the demand portion has spiked. On the flip side, the supply is not inching up, ramping up at the same pace. Particularly, we've also had a lot of hurricanes in the Gulf of Mexico and that area as well that has taken off the supply issue, whether it's refining or drilling off market. And so you have demand at a high, supply at a lower low, and that crunch is what they're calling the energy crunch right now. But the experts out there are saying, you know, high energy prices do tend to self-regulate. So when drivers see high gasoline prices, it tends to dissuade people from getting on the road. It's also entering into the coldest season of the year in this country. We have fewer drivers on the road in the winter months, so the problem should rectify itself over the next coming year.
Let's get you on Facebook before we let you go, Shibani. I know they continue to get beaten up. You and I have talked about this over the last few weeks anyway. I don't know if you've seen the cover of Time magazine asking delete Facebook with a question mark. We've got a Nobel Prize winner who's calling Facebook a threat to democracy after what we've seen over the last couple of weeks. Do you think there will be changes with Facebook, and does it all come down to Zuckerberg because he has the control?
Yep, Zuckerberg does have the control. This is I believe, the core issue at hand for Facebook versus other companies. Mark Zuckerberg, even though he's the chairman and the CEO, very common at a lot of companies, what is very distinct about him and his ownership position is that he controls 55% of the voting rights within the company. So no matter who else owns shares, his voting power is larger than everybody else's, and he has the ability to dictate who sits on the board of directors, what initiatives the companies take, whether it's a merger, acquisition, or major initiatives. Everything needs to be Mark Zuckerberg approved, and I think that's part of one of the issues that Facebook is facing. Obviously, they have other issues in terms of making things more transparent, thinking about the trade-off between profit and personal benefit as well. But the Mark Zuckerberg issue is a unique one to Facebook. He's certainly going to be the one that is going to be the face of change. And there's lots of changes being proposed, whether it's to the algorithm, even regulation. Without all the testimony on Capitol Hill,
Right.
there's going to be a lot coming for Facebook soon.
All right. Great insight. As always, business reporter Shibani Joshi. Thanks for joining us. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
We have exclusive new information tonight on what the Northport police have to say about whether Brian Laundrie is dead or alive. Our Brian Entin spoke with them, and he's coming up. Also, take a look at this. Senator Joe Manchin frustrated with what he's hearing, so much so, well, he gives us a pretty clear indication of how he feels anyway, and a lot of us feel this way about what's happening in Washington. And he was reacting to someone in his own party. That story's coming up. And don't forget, you can follow us on social media at the Donlon Report on Twitter. Back after this.
Leader McConnell and Senate Republicans insisted they wanted a solution to the debt ceiling, but said Democrats must raise it alone by going through a drawn-out, convoluted, and risky reconciliation process. That was simply unacceptable to my caucus. And yesterday, Senate Republicans finally realized that their obstruction was not going to work.
So in case you missed it, that was Senator Joe Manchin behind Senator Chuck Schumer there, putting his head in his hands. Manchin agreed with a number of Republicans who thought Schumer's speech was divisive and unnecessary. On one hand, not complete economic calamity for a few days, and on the other hand, some hurt feelings. But they did get it done, at least temporarily. We'll probably be down this road again very soon. In fact, probably by the early part of December. We'll see. Joining me now to talk more about this and more, President for Sun Vision Strategies, Chris Prudhome, and Kerryanne Burke. She's a political strategist and government policy attorney. Kerryanne, let's start with you. Democrats might be mad at Manchin at the moment for a lot of reasons. Is it just me, or did that reaction speak for a lot of people?
I think that reaction spoke for a lot of people. We are all frustrated with the debt ceiling issue that was going down in Congress. I think this is a season that we should be all coming together collectively within the Democratic Party as well as the Republican Party to make sure that our debt ceiling is passed to a level that can make our economy function. So I, too, held my head in my hand when I heard that particular speech, because I don't think it was warranted in this moment.
Chris, let's bring you into this. And before we get your comment, though, I want to play a clip from the White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki. She talked about some of this that we're all feeling, the frustration.
We don't have the luxury of being frustrated. This is a process. The president of all people recognizes that the process can take some time. There can be ups and downs in the process, and he feels that we're continuing to make progress, that both Senator Manchin and Senator Sinema are negotiating in good faith.
So, Chris, I know they're Democrats, but do we need the Joe Manchins and Kyrsten Sinemas of the world, the moderates who may not be as vocal? I mean, you have them on your side as well.
Look, I do think it's important to an extent, but look, first I will say this. I disagree with Jen Psaki. I mean, she could have, first of all, it is important to be frustrated. I think she's wrong. And look, I think as Manchin said, it's time to de-weaponize on both sides of the aisle. This is absolutely ridiculous, man. And the fact that, but the reality is, and just like Lindsey Graham said, when you look at the threat of the Democrats, the reason why they folded because they talked about blowing up the Senate with the filibuster. It's absolutely insane. The fact that we can't get policy done, that we have to have these type of back and forth and tumultuous arguments, disagreements. This is why America's so divisive now. It has to really stop to get things accomplished.
Why do you think it is, Kerryanne? Has it become too much about winning and keeping score, I guess, and win or lose and take no prisoners?
That's a possible reason. I just think that maybe they really were having hard negotiations. And as a person who's negotiated budgets in the state level, I understand how contentious budget season can be and all of the debt ceilings and the economic crisis that we're in the mix of COVID. So I think it was a contentious negotiation process. But overall, I don't think it's all about winning and losing. I just think that we are in a very precarious and peculiar situation in our legislature at this moment.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I think among the watchers as well, Chris, because now we've seen people, lawmakers being followed through restaurants and airports and even into bathrooms now. That's where we are.
That's right, and I think it's gotten immensely out of hand. And as you called it right, and look, people are unfortunately going to leaders' homes, as you know, leaving dead animal parts, and I mean, this is out of control. But again, it goes back to leadership from the top all the way across the board. We have to start saying, look, guys, it's not us or nothing. It's not the left or the right. We're America. We're still one nation, and I think we have to get back to those days and not such in a divisive mode to where if you're a Democrat, you're wrong. If you're a Republican, you're wrong. It's just unacceptable. We have to come back to a happy medium.
Yeah, boy, I agree with that in many ways, because I think we all sort of watch what's happening in D.C. and think, look, we have to make these decisions every month. We have to hit our budgets. We have to do the things that
That's right.
Congress seems to have so much trouble doing. Let's move on, Kerryanne, to the jobs report. It's hard to add jobs if people aren't looking for work. The question is, why do you think are people not looking for work?
I think people are looking for work. I think that is a lot of things going on. We are still in the midst of a pandemic. A lot of businesses have suffered for the past year and a half due to that, so there may not be as many jobs available in the areas that people are looking for. Let's be quite honest, not everyone wants a service sector job. Some people want to be in the office. Some people want higher paying jobs, so there's quite a bit of things going on. I think that the president and the administration is doing a fairly decent job, being that they just entered office, and I think that they are going in the right direction. Let's just put it that way. And while I personally would want to see more jobs added to our economy, I understand that we are still experiencing a pandemic. So I am giving a little grace to the administration, and I know that people are looking for jobs. I have friends that are looking for jobs, so therefore I know that people are out there trying to get back to work. As Americans, we love to work, so definitely I see that happening.
Well, we also love the weekend, and we're going to let you both get on with that. Chris Prudhome and Kerryanne Burke, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Elon Musk moves Tesla headquarters from California to Texas. Why are the pastures so much greener in the Lone Star State? Is California going to do anything about this business exodus? We're on that next. The search for Brian Laundrie continues at the Carlton Reserve. His father joining the search for the first time yesterday. For the latest on this, we're joined now by NewsNation's Brian Entin, who is there in Florida, Northport again. And Brian, I understand you were able to speak with Northport police today.
Yeah, this was interesting and sort of unexpected, Joe. The Northport Police Department did an interview with us today, a one-on-one interview, sort of going over the latest with the case. You know, you've heard these reports over the last week, different people saying, oh, they found something in the reserve. We heard a report of a possible campsite. Turns out none of that was true. Northport Police today telling me they have found absolutely nothing in the reserve so far connected to Brian Laundrie. Of course, his car was there. His parents led police to the reserve initially, but in terms of the search over the last several weeks, no clothing, no personal items, nothing like that. A lot of people wondering at this point, where is Brian Laundrie? Is he even in this area? Is he even alive? We asked police. Based on what you do know, do police believe that Brian Laundrie is still alive?
It's possible. I certainly think that it would not surprise me if he is. Wouldn't surprise me if he's not.
So police basically telling me that it's about 50-50 in their mind right now whether or not Brian Laundrie is indeed alive or dead at this point.
Brian, are you hearing any more about the Appalachian Trail that we heard this clue about between the Tennessee and North Carolina borders?
The latest I've heard is from Dennis the hiker. He is the man who actually says that he saw Brian Laundrie last weekend. I was talking to him on the phone yesterday. He said that he did meet with the FBI for 45 minutes. They did a thorough in-person interview with him. He says that they seem to be very interested in his story and take it seriously, but still no confirmed reported sightings of Brian Laundrie.
All right, NewsNation's Brian Entin wrapping up the week for us there in Northport. Brian, thanks for the update.
Thanks, Joe.
Elon Musk is moving Tesla's headquarters from California to Texas. NewsNation's Marky Martin joins us live tonight from Dallas and has more on this. So, Marky, Tesla is Texas-bound, and they are certainly not alone. Hundreds of companies have relocated.
Hey, good evening, Joe. So the Lone Star State is the leading destination for companies considering moving. Get this, just during the pandemic, 154 companies announced that they were either relocating or at least expanding in Austin alone. So you have Tesla there, also Apple's second hub is there. But outside of that one city, you have CBRE, Hewlett-Packard, Charles Schwab, Oracle, all of those companies relocating to Texas here very recently. And it's really ignited this conversation, right? Like, wow, Texas's business hub, this could really rival Silicon Valley. And new reports also saying about 1,000 new people moving to Texas every day, a good portion of which are saying we're moving here because our company announced that they'd be moving first. Joe.
Markey, I've been to Austin on a handful of occasions, and it's a beautiful city. Why Austin, though? Why are they getting so much of this attention?
So really, Austin and Texas, you know, it's a myriad of reasons. You talk to a lot of these company leaders and they say Texas really has that trifecta, that triple threat, right? You have community, collaboration, you have culture, not to mention the cost of living here is phenomenal. In fact, Elon Musk yesterday saying a lot of my employees can't even afford to be homeowners. So that's why he was pivoting from Palo Alto to Texas. In fact, you know, the cost of a home is about 60% more expensive in California. Average price here for a house, $195,000. It's well north of $500,000 there. And a new recent study out of Stanford says in the first half of this year alone, Joe, California lost 74 headquarters to Texas. This is a mass exodus. And in a different CEO survey, CEOs ranked Texas as the best place for business, California as the absolute worst. Of course, Texas offering up these juicy tax rebate incentives for these big mogul companies to come plant roots here, Joe.
So is there a timeline on this move?
No, that's the interesting thing. No timeline, so we'll have to wait and see. But I can tell you the city of Austin is gearing up for a big shot in the arm when it comes to economic growth. That Tesla campus expected to bring in about 10,000 jobs. Imagine the foot traffic, the business that brings to the airport, the restaurants, the hotels. New housing is going up around that gigafactory. And Joe, that gigafactory, once it's all said and done, the size equivalent of 138 football fields. It'll be wild.
All right. Markey, thank you very much. Good to see you. Appreciate the time. Let's get someone from both states now to talk about this. Kevin Kiley, Republican California State Assembly member, and Chuck DeVore is with the Texas Public Policy Foundation. Chuck, let's start with you. You moved there yourself from California. There's a lot of businesses. You just heard from Markey there. What do you think is behind it? How big a deal is this?
Well, I think it's a fairly big deal. And I think at this point, we're hitting an inflection point. And by that, I mean, when Elon Musk himself moved to Texas, announced the move, I think, in December of last year, what also happened is you saw venture capitalists from Silicon Valley making the move just before or just after. You have members of Elon Musk's boards, whether it's SpaceX or Tesla, that have also relocated. And what I think you're going to start to see is the venture capital that has been invested in California, where in recent years, California has captured about half of the $164 billion in venture capital, with that being as much as the next three states combined, Massachusetts, New York, and Texas. But I think what you're going to start to see is a lot of that business is going to increasingly be done in Texas, in the Austin area, because you have this network of people like Elon Musk. You've got the money and you've got the tech at UT Austin.
Right.
So I think we're seeing the beginning of something big.
Well, it's certainly growing. Kevin, we should probably point out it's important they're not leaving, right? They still have a footprint in California, and Elon Musk says that they'll continue to expand there. But nonetheless, the headquarters is heading to Austin. I'm wondering, from your standpoint there in California, is the state doing anything to try to stop this?
Quite the contrary. The state continues to do a lot of things that have accelerated this trend. And Chuck says that we're at an inflection point. That's absolutely right. In fact, what I'd say is that what has been a long-term decline has been brought to a total free fall by our current governor, Gavin Newsom. In the first half of this year, the number of business relocations out of California more than doubled. It was 265 business relocations for the headquarters just over the course of those 6 months. And when you look at Elon Musk specifically, last year, one of my colleagues in the California legislature had a tweet that went viral that simply said, bleep Elon Musk. And, this got something like 200,000 likes or something like that. And Elon Musk responded and said, message received. And then that gets us to where we are today. And frankly, that is the same message that a lot of people and businesses in California are receiving from our state government.
Is there a number that's been on it, Kevin? I mean, how much is this costing California?
Well, obviously, it's costing us a...
Oh, sorry, Kevin, for you. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll get to you in a second, Chuck.
Obviously, it's costing us a great deal in terms of tax revenue, in terms of human capital, and in terms of social capital and everything that these companies bring to our state. Chuck might have some more specific numbers in that respect. There have been studies about the departure of high earners, but something that's important to note is that this isn't just an exodus of businesses; it's an exodus of people as well. This last year, for the first time in California history, in our 170-year history, you had more people that left the state than came here by 182,000 people. And so, that is really the true inflection point, that the state that used to be the one where everyone wanted to come to is now the state where everyone wants to leave. And it's not just wealthy folks. It's not just big companies like Tesla. It's actually mostly middle-class working families who just can't get by here because our state's corrupt government has made it so hard to.
And it's a big tax question as well, Chuck, as you know about the not having a state income tax there in Texas. But you might wonder, why all these people are leaving Silicon Valley, but in essence, they're creating, it seems like, a new one there in Texas.
I think that's right. And Assemblyman Kiley was correct when he talked about this. Exodus isn't just the people at the high end, it's average, everyday people. And the number one state that former Californians moved to, like I did, is Texas. Unless Texans be too upset about that, the polling that we've done at the Texas Public Policy Foundation and other polls indicate that the people moving here from California are generally a conservative lot. Now, to get to the tax question, when I was vice chair of Rev and Tax in the California State Assembly, we had the Google IPO. Google went public.
Right.
In the year before, you had about $36 billion in tax revenue from capital gains from stock, from people who made a lot of money on the stock market, mostly IPOs. The very next year, it went over $50 billion. It was a 36% increase. And as I recall, about $5 billion of that was from Google alone.
Wow.
And if you start to get venture capital happening in Austin instead of Silicon Valley, and Silicon Valley, by the way, last year had only 20% of America's venture capital deals. That was an all-time low for Silicon Valley. And so what's going to happen if it comes to Texas is that those individuals that paid $50 billion in taxes in California back in 2005, they would have paid zero in Texas.
Wow.
And I think that's going to be some of that motivation.
Right. Well, we're seeing the impact in California. Kevin Kiley, we appreciate your perspective from there. And Chuck, DeVore, I also worry a little bit about the growing pains ahead for Austin, but we'll see. It's an interesting story. Thank you both for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
How did Chinese media respond to a report that U.S. troops are in Taiwan to help train them for, I don't know, maybe a possible war? Bomb the invaders, that was the word. But keep in mind, Chinese media is run by the Chinese government. That story's ahead. And 3 members of the president's cabinet go to Mexico to find out what's causing the crisis at our southern border. The question, why didn't they go to the border? That's ahead. Remember what I said a little while ago about revisiting the debt ceiling discussion and debate and argument? We have some breaking news now. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell sent a letter to President Biden saying Republicans will not vote to raise the debt ceiling in December. How about that for timing? Yesterday, the Senate approved a short-term extension, raising the debt ceiling to that December date. We'll have the latest right here on NewsNation as the negotiations progress. Now, to a direct threat tonight from China targeting U.S. troops in Taiwan. Today, the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman called on the U.S. to cut off military ties with the island nation after the Wall Street Journal reported that about 24 Marines had been training there for nearly a year. Others in China are calling for more than just strong words, though, from its leaders. The head of China's largest state-sponsored newspaper took to Twitter to call for an airstrike on the U.S. troops, calling them invaders. This all comes as China continues to ratchet up military pressure on the Democratic Island, flying a record number of warplanes into its airspace this week. Former State Department Senior Advisor Christian White back with us again tonight. Christian, always good to have you. So this isn't just a columnist, it's the editor-in-chief of a state-backed newspaper calling for airstrikes.
It is, and oftentimes you'll see ideas like this in the Global Times that later become reality. Not always the case. This guy, this outlet previously said that Chinese bombers should actually enter airspace directly over Taiwan. So far, that's been limited more to Taiwan's air defense identification zone, still airspace managed by Taiwan. So, and also some of the bellicosity we've seen towards Hong Kong. You see that first in the Global Times. It's not just an independent tabloid. It really is sometimes the vanguard of the state. So when they threaten to kill Americans, I don't think it's going to happen, but it certainly shows how displeased Beijing is at this development.
Yeah, I guess he asks two questions in this column, Christian. Why just 24 members? We mentioned the small but symbolic presence. And also, why secretly? How would you answer those two?
It's a little unclear to me. I advocate having a unified command with Taiwan, removing the ambiguity about whether we would come to Taiwan's defense. I think Taiwan would fight, and I think it's in our interest not to allow China to gobble up a huge part of the Pacific and really dominate that entire region of the world, which is so important for trade. But we've been very hesitant. Congress passed something in 2018 called the Taiwan Travel Act, said that there should be greater linkages between U.S. flag officers, those are generals and officers, and Taiwanese, but neither the Trump nor the Biden administration has implemented that. There's very little, surprisingly little, interaction between the U.S. and Taiwanese militaries, even though we do sell them a lot of goods.
We asked some of our experts the other day, Christian, I'll ask you, do you think it's inevitable that China will try to take control of Taiwan?
Not inevitable if we're talking about a military assault. I think we still can shape that outcome. But, you know, part of it is continuing the increase in sale of arms. We're not giving them away. We're actually selling them, unlike a lot of our other allies. And also giving the political support to Taiwan, the confidence. And the more that Xi Jinping, the Chinese dictator, thinks that there's risk involved, that Taiwan is not going to be a pushover, the less likely there is to be a war.
One other on this. Taiwan's foreign minister is warning that his country is preparing for war, essentially, with China. Here's a clip. We'll talk after.
The defense of Taiwan is in our own hands, and we are absolutely committed to that. And if China is going to launch a war against Taiwan, we will fight to the end, and that is our commitment.
You're also asking Australia for help, Christian. Where is this going?
You know, a lot will come down to the Biden administration and China, frankly, after seeing what happened in Afghanistan and seeing some mixed messaging or unclear messaging coming from President Biden, has somewhat of an encouraging sign. If there is a time to take Taiwan, it would probably be now. But I think there's still enough risk involved that Xi Jinping would think twice. Again, the U.S. Navy, the Air Force, the military, we can make this less likely by showing force.
All right, let's move to Afghanistan. You mentioned it, Christian. Here we go again. ISIS-K now claiming responsibility for a powerful blast. And it was an attack basically on a religious minority group. Is this more of what we're going to see there?
It's unclear how good the Taliban are going to do at achieving control and security and safety to a greater extent than we were able to do, or that the former Afghan government was able to do. As totalitarians, as dictators, you'd think the Taliban would get a handle on it. You see, though, that there is disagreement among radical Islamists. ISIS, by and large, are comprised of people who could not make it in al-Qaeda or the Taliban, and so you see now they're going violent. There's one really interesting thing in this, which is that the Taliban, that ISIS said that it was a Uyghur who actually committed this bombing. And because of cooperation between the Taliban and China, as you'll recall, has 1 to 2 million ethnic Uyghurs. These are Muslims in China in concentration camps. And we've sort of been wondering if that would ever cause jihad.
All right, there's a lot to digest there. Former State Department Senior Advisor Christian White, and thanks for joining us on a Friday. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Shifting gears a bit here to Mexico, where Secretary of State Antony Blinken and other members of the Biden administration met with President Lopez Obrador to talk about the root causes of the border crisis. Notably, though, Vice President Harris not in attendance with the contingent, although she was specifically tasked with tackling those root causes months ago. She was in New Jersey. Here's a picture of her at a bakery from earlier today. Blinken's trip to Mexico comes as hundreds of thousands of migrants have been flooding the southern border over the past year, and another Haitian migrant caravan is reportedly heading to the U.S. later this month. And if it's anything like the last one, you remember this one in Del Rio, it's sure to have an impact on border communities here in the U.S. To make matters worse, the Department of Homeland Security just announced they will be terminating border barrier contracts in the Laredo and Rio Grande Valley sectors. Joining me now, Lieutenant of the Texas Department of Public Safety, Chris Olivares. Chris, let's start there with this decision to stop the border barriers. How much of an impact will that have?
Well, Joe, thanks for having me. Good evening. So it's going to be a big impact, a significant impact, because what took place in Del Rio is a perfect example of how an effective strategy when it comes to a barrier, a wall, a fence, whatever you want to call it. We were able to deploy 1,000 Texas Department of Public Safety resources to Del Rio at that particular moment, and we formed a steel wall with our DPS patrol cars, and we stemmed the surge of illegal immigrants coming across. So that's a perfect example of how effective a barrier is for law enforcement. It's a very effective tool.
Big picture this for us, if you would, Chris. Where you are there has actually seen the majority of the crossings that we have had to report on here, 200,000 encounters a month. How has this crisis impacted where you are? And I guess what's your reaction when you see them in Mexico trying to work on the root cause and not there?
Well, it impacts us, not just our state law enforcement, our federal partners as well. They're stretched thin. They don't have the resources. That's why we're having to step in to fill that void. And that's why Governor Greg Abbott launched Operation Lone Star, which is a state initiative launching resources, state resources to the southern border, as well as the Texas National Guard. Now, as far as this meeting goes, this should have taken place at the beginning of the year, but now it's taking place where I think it's a little too late right now, because now we're seeing these thousands and thousands of migrants that are coming across. We saw what took place in Del Rio, and now we're anticipating another surge of 60,000 plus that are making the journey to the southern border as well.
You're also dealing with cartels on the other side of the border, I understand now, Chris, who are taunting agents and law enforcement with weapons.
That's correct. So now these cartels feel even more emboldened because of the lax border policies. So what we've seen, which we've never seen before in prior years, just when this past week we've had several incidents with heavily armed groups of men coming across from Mexico onto the riverbanks with tactical vests, brandishing their weapons, AK-47s, and taunting our National Guard because they feel emboldened right now because of the lax border policies. But I will tell you this, Joe, Texas is stepping in and we are taking action, and we will protect our law enforcement, especially our National Guardsmen.
All right, Chris Olivares, it's great to have you with us from Texas Department of Public Safety, or DPS, as we call them down there in Texas. Good to see you, sir. Thanks for the time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Coming up in tonight's American Snapshot, an entire community helps 3 lost children find their way home. That's ahead. In tonight's American Snapshot, 3 missing children, all younger than 8 years old, and the Texas deputy who brought them home safely. Yesterday, the 2 boys and girl were reported missing and believed to be lost in the Sam Houston National Forest. Search and rescue mobilized, and this morning, a volunteer found the children together. Here's that moment.
Yes, sir. I have all
Jesus
3
is
children.
Good, ain't he? Ain't Jesus good?
He is good. Kids, I'm the police. Are y'all ready to get out of the woods? Come on, buddy.
The children got lost after playing in a dry creek, but told authorities their parents taught them if they ever got lost, make sure you stick together until an adult arrives. So here's to Montgomery County Sheriff's Department and also the volunteer who found the kids, and the promise for a fresh cheeseburger and fries after that. That's it for us for now. Have a good night and a great weekend. On Balance is next.